Hey everyone, it's Brenna, and in this video we are going to be talking about the second letter in our acronym of AIM, which is developing intriguing visualizations. And so when we talk about this idea of having an intriguing visualization, we're really looking at how are we capturing people's attention with our visualizations. And really, this video will be focusing on different elements that we can incorporate into our visualizations that then make them engaging. And the way that researchers measure this level of engagement really comes down to two different factors that we'll be focusing on. So it's people's emotional connections that they have with the visualizations. So hopefully we're making them feel happy and really excited about this information and interesting. But then on the downside, if we don't incorporate our good data design elements, then it could make that person feel frustrated. The information could be confusing and maybe they even feel angry. And of course, we don't want that to happen in our visualizations. And then also our second aspect is that cognitive connection. And so the way that this is defined in research is really looking at the time that people spend connecting with some sort of visualization. And so in this time period, if it's a longer sustained period that the person is looking at some sort of data visualization, this is time where it's showing they're interested in it, they find it very intriguing, maybe trying to connect different things together, maybe spending this time thinking about how does this apply to my own life or my own practice and what changes could be brought about through this data. So the longer someone spends looking at that visualization, we know that they are more cognitively connected. So of course these are things that we want our audience to, be happy, have that emotional connection, but also be engaged and really interested in what we are presenting. So how do we know that we're doing this with our visualizations? We are going to focus on two main aspects that research has been shown to have more engaging visualizations and talk about some of those design aspects. So the first part of this main takeaway from the research is that pictographs are found to be one of the more engaging, more intriguing types of visualizations for people. So there's been a couple studies where people have been given the option to look at some sort of pictograph like we see on the left here on the screen, then a bar chart like in the middle of the screen with the same information, and then also a text version. So just all text report displaying that same information but just in words instead of a visual. And so when people are told, okay, you can have the choice of which one of these forms of information would you like to look at, people most likely will choose that pictograph to look at. So they are selecting this, they're finding it more intriguing, and then they're spending more time looking at it. And so they're more engaged with it and have that cognitive connection with the pictograph compared to maybe just a bar chart or text. So I think this is really cool because you could kind of use this to your advantage and you could capture your audience right off the bat by including some sort of pictograph or icon array at the beginning of your report. And then that way people will hopefully look at that pictograph, icon array, really be interested, engaged in your report, and then hopefully you will capture their attention and then they'll want to read more and learn more about your report. Another thing that researchers have explored is the idea of what they call embellished charts. So an embellished chart is some sort of chart or graph, and then it kind of combines some sort of pictograph element. And so an example of an embellished chart is one on the right here, where researchers will take some sort of bar chart and they will replace the bars with an icon. So like here is one that I came up with the idea of. If you were doing some sort of maybe education or school-based report, your data was themed all about that, you could replace those bars with different icons of different size pencils, and then those pencils represent the different bars instead of just using a plain old bar for your bar chart. And so these embellished charts, researchers have found that people think they're more enjoyable to look at. They say they're nicer to look at than just a regular chart, and they find them more attractive. So all of these kind of indicate that there's some sort of emotional and cognitive connection that might be a little stronger with one of these embellished charts than compared to just a normal chart. Now I would put one word of caution here is to, if you decide to put this into practice, that you still want to make sure that the chart is readable, that you can still grasp all the information from it, and also you want to make sure that your icons or whatever sort of images you're using, they're somehow related to your data. So we wouldn't want to just put in some random image that really wouldn't make any connection to our data or our report. We would want it to somehow fit into the theme, the overall message that we're trying to convey in our report. And then the second main takeaway that researchers found when looking at what makes a graph intriguing or interesting to look at is that clear and easy to understand visualizations are really the way to go. And the reason this is because people will look at your visualization and they'll come up with some sort of first impression. And so hopefully we want that first impression to be a good one where people look and they see some pretty clear, easy to understand information that they'll want to explore further. So for example, if we had two different types of bar charts, one shown on the left here with students' ages, and then the one shown on the right, we have that same information, students' ages, but now we added a satisfaction score in the background, and you can see there that I added this, and just looking at it compared to the one on the left, this visualization on the right, it just looks confusing. There's a lot going on. If you look into it further, actually the y-axis of the percentages are actually interpreted differently because we have ages in years, the percentages, which is a part of the whole group. And then also we have satisfaction, meaning out of that specific age group, how many of them were satisfied. It's just a lot to comprehend compared to that first chart on the left there, where it's just a little bit more clean. We only have one real main takeaway of information of students' ages, and this first impression of the visualization on the left is probably going to be more positive than the one on the right. And so research has shown that when people are confused when looking at a visualization, they'll just decide not to explore it further. And so if you display some sort of visualization like the one on the right here with ages and satisfaction, people might just kind of check out and they're not really going to look at that information further. And if they try to attempt to look at the information, they might get confused, and then that confusion will occur. They'll get unhappy and their mood will be down, and we don't want that. So we really want to make sure that we're providing clear, easy to understand information, and that way people will have positive emotions, hopefully, when looking at our information. That positive emotion also helps increase people's learning, and so they'll be able to grasp that information and hopefully understand it a little more. So I hope that this video was helpful in giving you some tips and tricks on how to develop intriguing visualizations.